Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
When you lose that way, it's tough.
Cannot play with them.
Playoffs?
Coach Tomlin, let's go for the win, man.
Cannot win with them.
You play to win the game. Hello?
But it was a dumb f***ing play.
We couldn't make a first down.
They are who we thought they were.
We couldn't run the ball.
And we let them off the hook.
We couldn't complete a pass.
Cannot coach with them.
We sucked. The second half, we sucked.
Can't do it.
We've got to be the dumbest team in America.
I'm 53 years old. My office is at 250 North Washington. You tell me what time and when, and I will whip your ass.
Lawrence and I have experienced a lot of things.
Through the years, I've zoomed in on countless players. I even took the time to zoom in on the refs. But I've ignored one of the most intense professions in all of sports, NFL head coach. I've been thinking about doing this video for a while, but the final nail that made me go ahead and dive into this was this young, hungry coach you see on your screen.
Promise to have a first-class blue-collar work ethic and how we approach our business.
Extra pressure.
Pressure, we all feel a little pressure in this business, but I embrace that and look forward to meeting those challenges.
Outside of a couple appearances where he let his hair down, he sustained that intensity for 19 seasons. Then a couple weeks back, something really strange happened. Just 3 days after stepping down as head coach, this man went viral for being relaxed. This doesn't compute, because in the world of social media, the loudest people get the most attention. So it struck me as weird when a dude goes viral for literally just being chill. But to me, it really does highlight something. The crazy levels of pure intensity that it takes to do football's grindiest job. NFL coaches make a whole lot of bread. These dudes can get fired and still be getting paid. But unlike most people who will say money don't solve all your problems, I'm one of them people who actually believe it.
And everybody else has a bounce in their step. Look at Gary Kubiak, the 52-year-old head coach. He has both hands to the sides of his head while everybody else heads for the locker room. They're up 21-3 at this point. In retrospect, you could tell he was in distress at that point. Now as he tries to leave the field, he's going to collapse.
But every coach don't get to just walk out the fire. Many develop heart problems, go through divorce, are sleep deprived and burned out, grinding themselves into the ground. And it's a struggle that doesn't get talked about enough. I started researching this video to show people a side of NFL coaching that we don't think about. But during that process, I was reminded of a universal truth that we like to ignore. If we want to be the men holding everyone together, we got to make sure we ain't the ones that's falling apart. Because for every Mike Tomlin that retired like this, there's a dozen more that retire like this. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that focus is bad. Of course, we all gotta lock in sometimes. That's how you achieve anything that is worthwhile. Sustained focus can sharpen performance in the short term. But when you narrow your focus too thin for too long, the things outside your peripheral start to fall apart. NFL coaches have a tendency to try to stay locked in for so long that their system just short circuits, making them less effective over the course of the season than they could have been by just sleeping an extra couple hours per night. The crazy thing is most of them probably have no clue, as research shows that people can adapt to chronic sleep restriction to the point where they don't even feel tired. Meanwhile, their mental and physical performance is quietly falling off the edge of a cliff. Your cortisol is going up and your blood pressure is raising to dangerous levels, making you more susceptible to strokes and different types of heart conditions. And NFL head coaches, like a lot of us, we don't never want to rest. But without proper rest, over time, it just taxes the nervous system. It raises your stress hormones, shrink emotional range, and every emotion just come out as anger. It increases your fatigue, increase irritability, feel like you're just banging your head against the wall. It takes an actual, measurable, physical toll that shows up in medical records and death certificates. On On average, NFL coaches deal with elevated heart rates, elevated blood pressure, compromised immune systems, bro, they get poor sleep and they always stress. And then when this happens, people like shocked. In 2013, Gary Kubiak collapsed on the field after suffering a stroke right on the sideline. Dude dropped to his knees, man, struggling to breathe, and was transported to the hospital in an ambulance. And like I say, these dudes grind. He took 2 weeks off and fought his way back to the sideline in that same season. And he did all of that just to get fired. That's the life of a coach. Thankfully, dude was okay, and he later transitioned into more advisory roles, thus reducing the grind. Dude got out with his health mostly intact, but not every head coach gets that lucky. I don't really know if I could call that lucky, but still, there are coaches who have things worse. Brian Billick coached the Ravens for 8 years, and during that time, he developed atrial fibrillation, a condition that's closely linked to chronic stress, sleep deprivation, and intense prolonged workload. When asked about it, man, dude cut straight to the chase. This job can kill you. I'm serious about that. Proof is in the pudding, because when he left coaching, his health got better. Bro, his blood pressure dropped, cholesterol improved, but sometimes the damage is already done.
The Bears are what we thought they were. They're what we thought they were. The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Back in 2006, Dennis Green gave us one of the greatest post-game rants of all time. The larger context behind the rant sometimes gets lost, but the Cardinals had just got a brand new stadium. They had a talented roster, and they had real hope of ending a pretty long playoff drought. But this loss to the Bears was their 5th straight loss in a row. And it hurt worse because they blew a 20-point lead, despite giving up 0 offensive touchdowns. Dennis Green and his staff had prepared the team well, and early on they dominated an unbeaten Bears team, like many coaches do every single week. He poured his heart and his soul into preparing his team. 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters into the game, it absolutely showed. They was dominating, bro. But the thing about being a coach, no matter how well you prepare, there's a million little things that could throw off your day. All that film work, missing time with the family, and the players miss it too, but the coach is much older. And as you get older, these things hit harder, because the less time you have, the more valuable it is. But after all of that, bro, they smoke a 20-point lead, and Dennis Green's whole career would be boiled down to this single moment of post-game frustration. And when you get past the initial, like, hey, this is funny, and you start to dig into what's really going on inside the man, you can start to feel and understand his pain and frustration. But nobody took the time to do that. They just reduced him to a soundbite. And the worst part is, while millions of people have seen this clip and quoted it, very few people have truly heard what the man was communicating.
And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then
So we've been talking about the physical, heart attacks, strokes, and hospital visits. Like, that stuff is visible. But there's also another side to it. Remember when Sean McVay was on top of the world? Youngest coach to ever win a Super Bowl. But despite his youth and having a football world at his fingertips, at just 36, dude was considering retirement. The resulting fallout of his approach is that after each season, he simply spent, both physically and emotionally. There were many close to members of McVay's staff who would have whispered to you weeks ago that they doubted McVay could maintain the ridiculous grind he is on for all that much longer. Win big or lose big, for him it didn't matter. He demands too much of himself in his pursuit of greatness. And in private moments, some could see that it was already taking a toll. I want to back up for a second and zoom into a quote when it says McVay was demanding too much of himself in his pursuit of greatness. But here's the thing. A lot of y'all are like me and you want to be great, but just maybe not by the world's definition. Look, I apologize to these gentlemen I'm about to bring up, but Jordan's the GOAT, lost his family. Brady's the GOAT, lost his family. Belichick might be the GOAT, lost his family. I want to be a GOAT who maintains his. So where do you draw the line? How much is too much to demand of yourself?
Our head athletic trainer, Reggie Scott, he was telling me the other day, what time you get in, man? Make sure you get that rest, man.
So as you can see, even the youngest and the most successful NFL coaches run into the same wall. And like a lot of coaches, one of McVay's biggest problems was a lack of getting proper sleep. Sean McVay came from a football family. His granddad, John McVay, was an NFL head coach and a GM. He also had close ties with John Gruden, who used to set his alarm for 3:17 a.m. every day just to get an early start on watching film. And that's the culture that McVay grew up around. Now, I want to pause right here and say there are some genetic freaks. Like Kobe famously used to wake up at 4 a.m. and go work out, come home, rest there, and work out again. It's some people who can pull this off. But for most of us, even the really driven ones, the super ambitious, you are not superhuman. And at the end of the day, you need the day to end and not begin again until your body's recovered. But 3 a.m. film is the culture that Sean McVay grew up around. And it's an interesting point because, like I said, there's times in your life where you need to grind. Trying to pick and choose your spots is super hard. It's very difficult. You will fall out of balance. The key is when you do, before you crash into the wall, you need to recognize it and then make adjustments. Sean McVay used to wear the grind like a badge of honor. 18-hour days, sleeping at the office. First one in, last one out. But despite his lack of sleep, eventually he woke up. Going into his 9th year as an NFL coach, his perspective changed. And guess what changed it?
As you prepare for year 9, what state of mind do you find yourself in?
Pretty, I feel really healthy. I feel very grateful to be able to go into year 9. You know, my little boy, Jordan, I mean, what a joy he is. My wife, Veronica, and I always talk about what was life like before him because he's been such a blessing. As you're continuing to mature as a man, you know, and different things are occurring in your life that I feel like when you apply what you're trying to be as a husband, as a father, oh, by the way, that also can help you be a better football coach and a better connector and build more meaningful relationships where you can really impact. And, you know, you and I talked about it, man, and you knew, and I think it's changed you for all the right reasons. And we'll be, we're having another little boy too. So we're pregnant with our second, and we're excited about that as well.
I used to think it was cool to try to go 18 hours. But you know what that is? It's called being a dummy. His choice of words right there couldn't be more perfect because it's a dumb decision and it makes you dumber. One coach put it like this: just look at the science behind a tired brain. When you talk about a 40-second play clock and an exhausted brain versus a rested brain, the research is astronomically different. It affects your emotion. You don't have people panicking on the headset, screaming and yelling at each other and taking everything personal. But lack of sleep is really just one piece of the puzzle. Because for a lot of coaches, even when they do get sleep, even when they physically resting, their mind doesn't really cut off. Bro, they always on, always thinking. If you run your own business, bro, you know what this is like. And maybe they or you haven't hit that point yet, but eventually the weight will become too much. So you gotta start to learn how to offload that. You won't completely get rid of it, but you can mitigate. One of the nicest coaches of all time was Dick Vermeil. Dude had a big heart and was emotionally available all the time. And while that's an admirable quality, like any other quality, it of course comes with its drawbacks. Stress binds a lot more easily than empathetic people. And the reason's self-explanatory if you know what empathetic means. But a lot of people thought it was these internet cats who started the whole burnout thing. But certain NFL coaches have dealt with this way before we ever came into the picture. After 4 straight playoff appearances and 2 deep runs from 1978 to 1981, Dick Vermeil walked away from coaching at just 46 years old and stayed retired for the next 15 years. The beloved coach cited burnout as his primary reason. Like, the stress of it all was just too much for him. So if you're a really open person or an empathetic person, you gotta really be careful with the feedback you take in. You gotta really be careful trying to solve everybody's problems, because it'll bind to you and wear you down. So all of the coaches we talked about so far, pretty much all of them either burnt out or broke down. And at this point, I'm completely self-interested because it keeps slipping out, and I can't help but feel like, wow, this is a big issue for NFL coaches. It's the same issues every hardworking man run into, a paradox that nobody seemed to solve for any real stretch of time. Is it even really possible to devote yourself fully to a demanding career and a family, and oh, by the way, take care of yourself? I mean, dog, it's just 100% of you to go around. While a lot of modern careers might not be as brutal as NFL head coach, it still ain't leaving a whole lot of percentages to go around. So now I'm desperate, and I'm trying to think of a coach who figured this out and balanced it all, who found success in football and his family and still took care of his personal well-being. That search led me to Coach Tony Dungy. But to understand Dungy, you gotta understand the man who shaped Tony Dungy as a coach. So real quick, let's go back and check out Chuck Noll. 4 Super Bowl rings, highly successful, but his philosophy was the polar opposite of what you'd expect from a dude at the top of any profession, especially coaching. Dude was cool, bro. He made his assistants leave work early 1 time a week to go play golf. Like, get out of here. Go find a hobby. There's actually science to support that really is effective. He would have family days at the team headquarters. His core philosophy was simple and really refreshing. Don't make football your whole life. Tony Dungy played for Chuck Noll, and later on he coached under Chuck Noll. So in all that time, it's safe to say he absorbed that philosophy. He went and got cooked in golf 1 time a week, but he carried that philosophy his whole career. So if anybody gonna achieve balance, it had to be him. But when the Colts built their new stadium in 2008, dude had a dream job, a brand new stadium, and one of the best quarterbacks of a whole generation. Then add to that the Chuck Noll's philosophy, and he was still deeply considering retirement, bro. His best-selling book, Quiet Strength, is literally about what it actually takes to prioritize faith, family, and football. In that order. I need to read that book. But bro, even Tony Dungy, who had the blueprint and built this whole coaching identity around balance, still really struggled to balance it all. Here's what he said. For me, it wasn't about the pressure of coaching, but it was a sense of you had so many things and people to take care of that you don't always take care of yourself. That was the thing for me. You got time constraints, you got staff, and you got players and game plans. Then you got family, your kids and your wife. And you're trying to do the best that you can. And then when it comes to, well, I need to take care of myself, or I'm not feeling great, or I need to see a doctor, you can't. And pretty soon you start worrying about yourself and you just let yourself go. So with being a head coach, finding that balance, I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but it seems pretty rare. And we're hard on coaches. So when it comes to that profession, I think maybe we ought to have a little more appreciation, because most of the grind ends up taking place in dark rooms at hours where we probably knocked out. When they make that decision to go for it on 4th, we pop up out of our beds and we call for their jobs. But the bigger story here is that a lot of us can really relate in our own way. We know what it's like to pursue that impossible ideal that we all call balance. We know what that's like. We've been there. We probably there now. You got work, family, and if you get around to it, you got yourself. Gotta take care of him too. And it's crazy because it seems simple on the surface until you actually make a real attempt at it. And you realize you're not just balancing 3 categories, because each one is made up of a dozen moving parts. Family alone breaks down into wife, kids, self, and then you've got the collective. And if you're not right physically, spiritually, or mentally, you ain't gonna be your best when you step into them other groups. If they ain't solid with the kids but fractured with your wife, then the whole family is gonna feel that. If your kids get older and y'all got unresolved issues, the whole family dynamic still gonna be affected. So each one of them micro categories needs to be balanced to balance the whole category. You gotta do the same thing for all these other categories. Like, bro, it's hard. Perfect balance probably isn't ever truly achieved. And attempting to stay as close as you possibly can by constantly recalibrating all of these smaller components, let's be real, bro, that can be exhausting. But just like the NFL coaches, we all come to the same dumb temporary solution. 9 times out of 10, we take every shortcut when it comes to balancing out ourselves. Man, I'm tired. Drink more coffee. Man, I'm stressed. Drink more alcohol. Man, I'm sick. Just power through it. Bro, I need to get in shape. Just get a prescription. Then we take the leftover points that we cut from ourselves and put almost all of them into work. We take a couple leftover and sprinkle them in the family, and we end up with a chart that looks something like this. So what do we do about it? That is the question. Bro, I don't have a great solution for you other than the most basic things that I'm about to list out, but find a version of those things that works for you. You gotta get your sleep. Our truck drivers, I feel you. Buddy over there with the newborn, bro, I feel you. The reality is there's gonna be seasons in your life where you won't be able to operate at peak capacity. Ironically, I've been down for the count for these last couple days, which is the reason this video didn't come out a week earlier. And I still, to my ears, sound like crap. My energy is low and I don't feel great. And I did take my own advice because I was going to try to thug it and record this video 2 days ago. But I said, no, let me chill, let me get a little bit better. Then you come back to the reality. Like, I can't wait forever. Job got to get done and it ain't going to do itself. While perfect balance is probably unattainable, it's important that we don't give up the pursuit. Find a way to get as much sleep as you can. Find time to get to the gym or figure out a home workout routine. If you're a content creator / writer like me, make sure you get outside in the sun. It's also probably good to supplement with vitamin D, or you can ignore this health advice as it's coming from a sick dude. One of the hardest things to come by is conscious rest. I mean, time when you're resting but not asleep. Time where your mind is free to breathe and renew. I think that's the greatest weapon against burnout. And if you're one of those cats that can't turn off your brain, if you're like me and everything is a video idea, a book idea, a show you can make, oh, what if we did this? It's like, brain, shut up. What if we sit here and watch One Piece for 2 hours? What if we turn on The Chosen and cry for 2 hours? Find you a hobby, go hoop, pick up pickleball. If you're in your 30s and up, yeah, thank your boy later. And the most important thing, you have to root your identity outside of work. I know as men, that's natural. I still struggle with it, but I've gotten a lot better and I feel the results. I root my identity in God, which puts everything into a natural perspective because he already calls me to steward my own body, take care of my family, love my wife, raise my kids. Like, it's all there. And when it comes to my career, I glorify him through that. And I don't just mean when I'm directly talking about God. I'm talking about when I'm researching, when I'm writing, when I'm in front of this camera. So the whole gig all together, because he gave me the ability to be able to do this, blessed me to put me in a position to be able to do this. So when I do it, I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability and still be able to recognize that this ain't my whole life. So that's how I do things to help me put things in perspective and pursue balance, though I may never really get there. If y'all got any methods that been working for you, put them in the comment section, dog, and help somebody else.
What would you say to Dennis Green if he were to be here today?
Man, I don't know, man. So you asked me what I would say to him. Man, I'll probably just fall in his arms and give him a hug, man. There's no words that I can tell him.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and give us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever and ever.
I was still thinking about Denny Green and wanted to give him a little tribute. A lot of people don't know that before Chad made me a Bengals fan, probably around 2003-ish. But before that, my first team was the Randy Moss Vikings team. Proportion of that, Dennis Green was the coach. Anyway, this video wasn't quite as focused as I'd like. Kind of got pulled in a couple different directions. And while they're all related and they overlap, my mind, I feel like I could have presented it better. Like, the structure kind of felt like a fire freestyle, like on a mixtape. Meanwhile, I'm in album mode. Oddly, I wanted it to feel a little more corporate than just authentic. Not like not authentic, but I try to get like a certain balance, because if it's too authentic, people can't really follow what you're talking about. Anyway though, I hope some of the messaging hit. Take care of yourself so you can take care of the people you love, but give yourself some grace, because there will be quite a few seasons where you're not able to rest as much as you would like. When you get a season to rest, or you get some time to rest, it's important.